What's going on, guys? Finally, we are back after a very long hiatus, and today we're going to be doing a team battle. It is Ample and Sharp on one side, and we've got Noob and Huro, aka YSC, on the other side. Now, honestly, I don't know how the team battle actually works, so we're just going to go into games. I don't know if it's best of 3 between players, best of 5, or how exactly it works, but let's start off with Ample versus YSC. Our first map is going to be on match point. This is a current ladder map, so this should be very interesting for both you Terran and Protoss players. Possibly you can copy one of these builds and implement it into your play. And I'm very lucky to be able to get these replays. I actually met someone recently who contacted me and asked me if I would like to cast some of these sponsored games because they're looking to attract more foreign players, and I said, hell yeah, I want to cast these games. So here we are. If you want to see more games like this, definitely let me know and who you want to see play, because we actually have a pretty long list of players that have agreed to play, and getting people like Ample and YSC and Sharp in them, that's a big deal to get them to play because they are top tier. So I'm very thankful for the guy hooking me up with these replays. Now we do have Ample in the bottom left. We've got YSC in the top right, and I have not seen YSC and Ample face off against each other lately. I know from Have At You, YSC generally played pretty defensively, pretty much played pretty standard in PvT, and Ample also plays pretty standard. But what I like about Ample is he isn't someone that always goes 2-1 every game. He's also not someone like 4GG who always goes for a timing. He really does balance his play, going for the defensive 2-1 style with builds like a 5-fact and a 6-fact. So it should be interesting what he wants to pull out on match point. Now he is sending out a fast scout. This is a pretty standard scout for Terran. They're going to scout up here for the proxy gate. Oh, actually, he's not going to scout for proxy gate. Really, it is very common to have proxy gates on this map. If we do just take a look at the entire map, proxy gates up here. So a bit risky to just blindly build this barracks at the front, but he's decided he's going to build it right there. I'm surprised he didn't send out an earlier SCVs to potentially build a second depot or first depot up here. Now, what does he want to do with this? He is actually going to go into a gasless expand, which is something we don't see often these days. Probably about 80 to 90% of the time we're seeing 12 gas. So this is a bit of a mix-up for the current meta. Meanwhile, back at YSC's base, we've got a Zealot coming out. Again, 12 gas is pretty much the de facto build these days because almost every Protoss player is going for a fast Zealot. And that's exactly what YSC is going for. He's sending it out right now. And this is going to be a really good opener for what Ample's doing, because we see that the depot is not being built just yet. I think if it gets placed right here, actually a Zealot can fit through. So this looks kind of like a misstep potentially. Oh, actually, I think this is good. It should fit right there. And actually, this is a really slick placement from Ample. So very nicely done from him. I don't expect him to take much damage. Now, meanwhile, back at YSC's base, we've got the Goon coming out. Range is kicking in. The SCV, I think, did see the Zealot moving across, and he does instantly build that bunker. Now, the question is will that Zealot be able to skirt by? I think he will be able to run by here. But SCV's in position. Can he get through? Not yet. Okay, now he does get through. So the Zealot is going to get in, and that's going to be quite annoying because we see that the Dragoon's coming out, but it's not going to rally across the map just yet. Now, how much damage can this Zealot really get done? I don't think he should be able to get many kills here. There's already 2 Marines out. The Zealot has already taken a lot of damage to its health. Great SCV control with the Marines. And this should go down. So that's going to be Zealot going down basically for free. And back in YSC's base, we don't see any tech anywhere. He's got a lot of gas. Could be a robotics coming up, but more than likely he's just going to expand. Now what does what does Ample want to do with this opener? Is he going to go into 2-fact? Is he going to go into fast armory? Are we going to get siege mode? You know, Flash really does like to go for the standard 2-fact timing afterwards. So we could see a lot of vultures get pumped out, but we could also see the fast armory come in. Now really he needs to get his academy down pretty soon because he's in the dark at this point. He doesn't know if YSC is going for a delayed DT or what exactly he's going for. I'm looking in the main of YSC trying to figure out what type of tech he wants to go for. He's got a lot of gas, but no robotics anywhere. This has got to be a robotics. Robotics coming down at 445, but honestly this is a pretty late robotics. So if Ample does try to get aggressive with 2-fact, which he is, I don't think that YSC should be able to get an observer in here to see exactly what's going on before the vultures get out onto the map. Meanwhile, Dragoon's just gonna soften up that bunker. Now SCV gets in, great scout, great control, also does see this robo, and he should see that, hey, this thing should have been done, but it's not even close to being done just yet. So he knows that this is most likely going to be an observer follow-up, and he should be feeling pretty confident to just power. He doesn't necessarily have to worry about building Goliath just yet. Now this is a bunker with 4 Marines, so these goons, if they try to pounce on a tank coming out, they are going to get punished pretty hard. Fast gas coming up. Well, this is a pretty normal gas timing, 530, 540 gas. Pretty normal for the Terran. They need to catch up in gas after going for gasless expand. So no surprise there. Now, as expected, observatory coming down. Will he build? Nope. He is just going to build double gate. I was wondering if he's going to build a support bay anywhere, but it doesn't seem like he's going to go for that. Now the first tank comes out, and that's a pretty risky move to just send that tank out like that. Really could have jumped on that tank easily, especially with the barracks propped up. This is a pretty cute move, using the barracks to lift off and then re-land. And here he goes, he's going to try and jump on it. The tank is so far back though, taking so much damage. The tank is going to go down, but we're going to trade a decent amount of goons for this. 2 goons, all of these goons also get softened up, and that's a big loss. So even though he does kill the tank, I don't know if that's worth it. Now luckily for him, vultures are coming out, but they're going to have speed pretty soon. Mines also. He also doesn't have vision into the main of Terran. There could be a potential drop coming in, so he is going to back off for now. He does not want to take damage to a vulture drop. That would be catastrophic to him, potentially game ending. Now, because he took so much damage, what does he want to do? It looks like he is actually going to go into Reaver, but this is a very late support bay. But this could throw Ample off, because really you're expecting the Reaver to come to your base about now, maybe factor in about an additional 20 seconds since we went for an early Zealot. But really, this is an extremely late Reaver. He does have the shuttle. I am somewhat surprised that he is going for the Reaver. But here come those vultures. Now, how much damage can he get done? There's no way he's getting in through the front. And since this is so airtight, really shouldn't be able to get anything done. I think we're kind of being a bit stubborn here. Mines do trigger kill 1 Dragoon, but we did lose 3 vultures. Kind of an, oh, a big hit onto that goon right there. It gets 2 goons for 3 vultures. Now that is definitely a worthwhile trade. I don't know about 3 vultures for 1 goon though. But nicely done from Ample. I really thought that he wasn't going to get anything done. And surprisingly, he is going straight into Wraith. I really think that it's kind of unusual to go for Reaver at this point, but I guess he knows how YSC plays, because this is a perfect read. Reaver is coming out. We do have the Citadel coming up at the same time. And so far, this looks like this could be potentially 2-base Arbiter, because we don't have the Nexus just yet. A mine is blocking the 3rd base, and unless he clears this mine out pretty soon, he may feel obligated to just go for a big 2-base timing. Now back in the main of Ample, we do see a scan has gone off. It looks like I can't. Okay, there we go. He does see the natural right there, sees the support bay, and he didn't see the shuttle just yet, but the mines are going to intercept the shuttle, and the Wraith! Perfectly timed, and this is right before speed kicks in, and that's going to be the shuttle going down. This Reaver is going to get taken out also. 2 tanks instantly siege up. Perfect defense from Ample so far. It couldn't have possibly gone any better, and YSC is in huge trouble now. He's got 4 gate. He is putting down a Nexus himself, but it's lagging the command center of Ample. So Terran really in a phenomenal position. Now, one thing I am worried about is look at our lack of SCVs. It looks like Ample did cut quite a bit to make sure he could get his tech up, make sure he could get the starport and the Wraith out. So YSC, despite losing his Reaver for free, basically, a big investment, he is up in econ. He is taking a third base himself. So he is in okay shape. Third and fourth factory going down. Now, where's the armory? Okay, there we go. Armory is at the natural. He has started +1, a very late +1. So we may just see something like a very strong +1 timing at around 12 minutes without science facility, no science vessels at all. Just one big push. And really what he's going to be looking to do is either get into position here or position here overlooking this natural. Now YSC really does need to get something done because he didn't get anything done with the Reaver. Ample's econ has gone unhindered basically. He's caught up in SCVs quite a bit very quickly, 57 to 61 now. And honestly, 60 SCVs or so is pretty much perfect saturation on 3 bases, especially when your mineral only is only 6 patches. So he's pretty much all set. Now I do see a second armory going up, so it looks like we are just going to go into a somewhat delayed +2 timing. And I think this kind of benefits YSC. He does have his Arbiter already coming out. He does have his Forge getting +1 already. And +1 is a mandatory breakpoint for Protoss versus Terran because you do not want to be fighting versus +1 armor. +1 armor is so powerful for the Terran army. You cannot fight with +0. But really, YSC wants to get up to +2 because once you reach +2, that's when you start 7-shotting tanks with your Dragoons. So the longer that Ample sits in his base, the longer or the more time YSC has available to him to get that +2 weapon, and he's already completed +1, so that's great for him. I'm really liking YSC's position. He's got a 13 supply lead, not a huge supply lead, but he definitely has tech advantage right now and upgrade advantage. And behind this, he's going to take a 4th base, and I really do think that Ample, well, actually, he is just going to go for a split map. I thought he was just going to go for a big 3-base timing here. He is stuck on 6 factories. Would really like to see him put down a couple more factories pretty soon, but he is pretty gas starved, which is why I really thought that he was going to go for a timing. But that's not the case just yet. He does have his vessel out. He's starting to get EMP. +1 just finished for him. Ooh, there was a drop that I missed. Got into the back of the main, but gets cleared out by the Dragoons. I don't think we really lost that many probes. He's still at 58, maybe about 3 or 4, but nothing really massive. First Arbiter has come out. And as long as YSC can stabilize, which he should, he's going to be 4-base versus 4-base with first Arbiter already out. He's got his second Arbiter coming out pretty soon. He started +2 himself. So everything is looking pretty fantastic for him. And since Ample also is a little bit slow on his +2, he's not going to have that really sick, strong 2-1 timing at around 14 minutes. We're looking at about a 15-minute 2-1, which is super delayed. When he moves out, this Arbiter is going to have full energy. The Arbiter coming out of here is going to have a stasis himself. So we're looking at 3 stasis, and there's a big difference between fighting an Arbiter with 1 stasis compared to fighting an Arbiter or 2 Arbiters with 3 stasis. But actually, Ample is moving out like I thought he was going to do originally, but behind this, he's going for a 4th base at the same time. So he's not super committed to this. He's got, oh, he's kind of out of position. These tanks are just going to get destroyed. I think this is the exact moment that YSC was waiting for. Where are all the units? They're all lagging behind, extremely far behind. The tanks are going to get picked off, or at least some of them. Meanwhile, he does manage to reach the high ground, and YSC is not going to fight in the most ideal position, but with the Zealots right on top of all of these tanks, he should be able to wipe him out. A perfect stasis, getting so many tanks here, and look at the supply plummet for Ample. This is perfect from YSC. A bit of miscontrol right there from Ample, and he's getting punished extremely hard. Now, Ample does have top left, and YSC does know about it. He's going to send off a few Zealots to go up there and take that base out. And all that we have left is 1 tank, a single tank. There's a decent amount of Vultures here, but really, nothing that can deal with these Dragoons. Assuming that the Dragoons remain right on top of these tanks, they shouldn't really lose their lives. And I think that YSC is going to take our first game. There's just really not a lot to deal with this incoming attack from YSC. Perfect timing. Just going to get the Zealots on those tanks immediately. Now there are still 2 tanks in the back here. He does have a lot of reinforcements that he needs to start sending out. Arbiter does go down. That's a big loss to lose it for just a turret. But he didn't get the command center. He did wipe out a ton of SCVs though. And YSC is in a great position. He does have a bit of, or a little less probes than you really want on 4 base, but he's got 12 gate, 13 gate. He does have +2 already. Meanwhile, no +2 for Ample. It should be pretty close to being done, but it's only about 80% now. And really, as long as YSC can just get a consolidated army, 200 supply, he's primed to take this game. This is not a base that has a lot of minerals. And remember, Ample went for gasless expand, so his natural is getting very close to being mined out. Main is getting very close to mined out. Really, Ample has maybe like one really big push. Try and stabilize top left, potentially take bottom middle, try and split the map. But other than that, he cannot have another engagement like he just had. He just flat out is going to be broke. Now we do have Ample just setting up mines all over the place. We got mines here, just trying to get a little bit of map control at this point. It looks like a drop is going to go to bottom middle or bottom right, but there's not any vulture support. It is coming though, and the probe transfer is at an inopportune time. He should be able to at least take out a bunch of these cannons. He may even get the Nexus. Vultures do deal a lot of damage to shields, so this is YSC being a little bit too far out of position. Now these units are bunching up. Where is that Arbiter? Here it is. This is going to be a recall right here. Here he comes. YSC is just going to go for the Doom recall. Great recall right on top of all the tanks, avoids all the vultures. Perfect storm onto these couple tanks. And now, can Ample win the game with this drop? Because really that's all he can hope for. Zealot does get on top of the tanks, and both of these tanks are going to go down. And with this army being wiped out, this is going to be the 3rd base going down for Ample. Really no money left now. This is his last leg of life. And I think that YSC is going to take our first game really decisively. I thought he was in a poor position after losing the Reaver, but he played excellently, catching Terran completely off guard in the center of the map. A bit unfortunate for Ample, but he is going to go down. There's just way too much Protoss. We don't have any tanks. There's only 1, 2 tanks. And look at this. We've got 13 gateways. So many gates. Arbiter still going. We've got the Forge +3 coming in. There's just so much Protoss at this point. So it looks like it's going to be up to Sharp to try and take out YSC, because Ample not able to do so. He's even going to lose his armories because they're at the Nat, but really it doesn't matter. We just don't have anything left. Very nicely done from YSC, because really we've seen him play it and have at you quite a bit, but I don't think he ever actually won it. So it's nice to see him take out a very top pro here in Ample. Looking very dominant. And we're just waiting for the GG at this point. There's no chance. 64 to 125. There it is, GG. So let's get into our second game. Again, this is a team battle. I'm not exactly sure how it works, so I'm just going to assume that it's winner stays on. So let's get into our next game. It is going to be Sharp versus YSC. Right here. See if Mr. Sharp can take out Mr. YSC. YSC looked very, very good. Now our second map is going to be Overwatch. And this is not exactly my favorite map for Terran versus Protoss. Such an abusive map, 4 carriers. Very hard to deal with on this map with all the bridges. Also very hard to deal with proxy gates, arbiters. Very, very punishing. You definitely got to be on point if you're a Terran player. But sometimes if you're too aggressive, that can actually come back to bite you. If you do go for proxy gates, sometimes Terran in response goes for proxy barracks. So I have to wait and see if either of these players are going to get aggressive. So far, Doesn't look like YSC is going to be sending out an early probe, so it is just going to be a standard game on Overwatch, which is a bit unusual, honestly. Most of the time, I either get gas stolen or proxy gated. I don't generally play normal games on here, but it looks like YSC is just going to play pretty standard. Again, YSC, one of the players that I think plays the most standard out of all Protoss players I've seen. I can't remember him being super aggressive in any series, so it's not unexpected for him. Now, what about Sharp? Now, unlike Sharp or unlike Ample, I think Sharp is a little more, I think he leans a little more towards the 2-1 style, so I expect him to go for a big 3 base timing with 2-1, potentially 4 base timing, or sits on, or he sits in his main going up to 3-2. And you do see that Sharp is a bit worried for proxy gates. He's sending out a fast SCV to scout for the proxy gate. A lot of times you see it in the NAT, in the middle of the map, sometimes in the right side. And with the SCV not scouting any potential proxy gates, I thought he may potentially go for a 14 command center, but instead he is just going to go for 12 gas. Again, this is very standard play. Really, Ample going for gasless is a bit unorthodox these days, but YSC is actually going to be the one that's getting a bit greedy this time. He's going for a 12 Nexus. He's got his gate coming up, so he's going to be the one that is going to have a huge econ advantage. Now, because Sharp has gone for 12 gas, he does have the option to build Marines nonstop, get a Vulture out, and try and send it across the map and in the game by killing this Nexus. But he may not do that because he is getting off a somewhat late scout. It is a 2-player map, so it's not really going to come back to haunt him. He is going to find YSC first, but if he was to cut any Marines, that would damper his build, but I don't think it's going to happen this time since this is Overwatch. Now, in response, we do have YSC going for the standard 2-gate follow-up. He's going to potentially build 1 or 2 Zealots out of these gates. Not just yet. You definitely got to get up your Cybernetics first, though. If the Zealots somehow fall to a Marine SCV Vulture push, you've got to have the Cybernetics. The Goon are really the very punishing unit versus Terran. It's not necessarily the Zealot when you have a huge SCV pull behind it. So everything is pretty standard so far from YSC. Meanwhile, Sharp has pulled off of gas. He is going to transition out of it. He is building up a higher Marine count. We are only at 1 though. If he's going to go, I think he needs to build 3 or 4. He does build a Vulture, but he's not committing to a lot of Marines. So this really shouldn't be an SCV pull. I think this is kind of just like, hey, I want to keep him honest. I do not want this guy to skip a Zealot. I definitely want him to get punished for building this Nexus, cut at least a few probes. Because if you don't do that, Protoss just gets away with murder. They're just going to have such a huge econ that really Terran almost feels helpless. Now, I am somewhat surprised he didn't send the Marines with this, but the Vulture does come out, spots the Zealot, but the Zealot should be able to hold this center line. He almost intercepts it again. I guess this Zealot will go down, but not a huge loss. But we do see Sharp getting a little fancy here. He does have a starport coming up, command center going down. Now, this is likely going to just be for a Vulture drop. We do have mines coming in. He may be able to get both mines and speed. And what Sharp's doing here by opening with Vultures like this, he just wants to get a bit of map control. He decided that he can't deny the Nexus, so instead he's going to go for map control with the mines. But I'm a bit worried that this Goon has gotten all the way across the map. Now, 2 Marines and 1 Vulture, can it kill this Goon? It looks like it can, but it is going to be somewhat close. Second Goon coming in also, and still no mines just yet. So Sharp is in a bit of trouble. These Goons can potentially deal quite a bit of damage. 2-shotting the Marines here. SCVs are going to go down 2. Great control, 1 health, and actually it does go down. But this Dragoon, every Vulture it kills is so huge. That's not just a Vulture going down, it's also 3 mines going down. So this is good kills from YSC, really good control. Does lose 2 Goons though, and now Sharp has set up a couple of mines across the map. Hopefully this Goon doesn't run into this mine. No! Oh man, now Sharp is trading much better than he should have, getting 3 Goons for what looked like what, 3 Marines and 2 Vultures. So overall, great trades for Sharp. Dropship is coming in though. Now back at YSC's base, the robotics is done, but this time he's going straight into support bay. I don't see an observatory anywhere. And with no observatory, these Vultures, even if it is only 3 or 4, there's going to be no way to actually defend the mines. They're just going to get in here, wreak havoc into the main. He can lay mines here, here, basically everywhere. And YSC, he's got to get up a pylon wall right here to wall off the back entrance of his base. If he doesn't, this drop may just win him the game. Oh, a perfect Dragoon scout at the top middle sees exactly what's going on. Now the Dragoons are scrambling to get back. He knows what this is. This is 100% Vultures. They do have mines. They do have speed. Great positioning with that probe, but not able to get up on second pylon. And now these Vultures really can kill a ton of probes here. Luckily, so far, it looked like only 3 have gone down. But now he's going to be very careful with the Reaver popping out of this robotics. Oh, mine's getting very close to triggering a Dragoon. That was very dangerous. If this Dragoon glitches out and moves down, potentially we're going to get tons of probes here. But already so many probes going down to 3 Vultures. Fantastic from Sharp. This is dealing way more damage than he could have possibly imagined. Now back at his main, he doesn't really have anything other than Vultures. There's not any tanks at all. There's no armory anywhere. There's no gas mining. So he does need to keep this Reaver back. Meanwhile, Vulture harassment into the natural. And look at the probe to SCV count now, 25 to 36. This is just perfect from Sharp, picking YSC apart. YSC getting a little bit too greedy, not going for the observer this time. And now 2 more Vultures back into the main is, ooh, doesn't actually get the Dragoon. I thought he was going to. But overall, Sharp is just in a dominating position. And he is transitioning into a big factory follow-up. We're already up to 3. Now this could just be him transitioning into a 3rd base. But since he's done so much damage, more than likely, we're just going to go for the killing move. No reason to prolong this game when you can just kill him. So I do expect to see 2 more factories coming down, potentially 2 or 3 add-ons to use up our gas, and try and just end this Protoss. Now what can... Wow, I didn't even realize he skipped range this whole time. So he went for a super fast robotics, and he got punished. So that's a bit unfortunate. He also has speed on this shuttle. So really a big commitment from YSC to go into this Reaver, and hasn't really been able to do anything with it because he's been stuck just defending his main. Now we do have a Vulture out onto the map, or 2 Wraiths out onto the map actually. Now he just needs to find this shuttle. It is moving across to mid-right. Now how much damage can this get done? It needs to get tons of SCVs here. There's really not a lot of defense, but with the race being here, they should be able to pick off the shuttle very easily. And I think this is just going to be a disaster. Now he does come in and he does unload, but now that he sees the race, this is a death sentence for this Reaver. The shuttle goes down. There is only 1 tank, so I guess that's a bit of saving grace here. But now the race can just deal with this 1 Reaver. And now Sharp is just in a magnificent position. I don't think there's really any hope of YSC salvaging this game. He is going to try and transition into air. Honestly, I think that's about the best thing he can go for. Just pray that Sharp doesn't scan and see that he is going for carriers. And then maybe if he can build up to 2 or 4... Well, really, he needs to have 4. But if he can get up to 4 carriers, you know, 4 carriers deal a lot of damage. So let's take a look at what Sharp actually saw. He didn't see anything. He doesn't see any Stargates here. So for now, he doesn't know exactly what YSC is doing. And every second is going to be so precious to YSC. He's definitely got to get up a couple carriers if he wants to get back into this game. Because his econ is so shot. He's done a good job to even up the probe to SCV count. But with the SCV count being so close now, all that means is that Sharp is going for a big timing. Vulture's getting back into the main. Get a couple kills. Now I do hear another scan has gone off, and now he sees that the carriers have just started. Now I'm curious if he saw the Stargates start to blink or if they were already blinking when he scanned. If he saw them start to blink, he has no worries now. And in response, he instantly takes a third base. He's got his +1 basically done. Now again, I don't see a science facility anywhere, but he does have the starport, so he can put down the facility pretty quickly. There it is. It is starting right here. So we are going to have a 2-1 timing come in for Sharp. It looks like he doesn't want to just end the game that quickly. And even anything he does is really going to be an okay choice. But he needs to make sure that if he's going to go for this, that he's got to get his third base up and running. He can't let this Goon Zealot Bomb or Reaver Bomb deal a lot of damage here. And I don't think he's going to let that happen. He's got tanks set up in a great position. He's got double add-on. He's still got the 2 wraiths here. Another vulture drop into the natural. This is just so punishing. How many probes has he killed this game? It's like 30 probes he's killed. It's just crazy how much damage he's gotten done with these vultures. And YSC, he can't even take a third base because it's blocked by a mine. Now, I think YSC actually has to go for this. He can't really bust it, but the vultures are just so much damage. 28 probes versus 53 SCVs. There's 3 command centers for Terran. He started +2 weapon. He's got +1 armor coming in. Really, all that's lacking for Sharp now is he's just got to get his factory count up. Other than that, this is perfectly played from him. Excellently executed. And really, just Sharp is going to be waiting for critical mass. He's going to wait for 2-1, probably wait for maybe about 160 to 170 supply. He should have close to 2-1 by then. And then what do you do from YSC's point of view? There's really just nothing for him. He has 6 gate, but he can't even support 6 gate. His army is extremely lacking. It's only pure goon, basically. So really no answer for YSC. He's going to have the best trades of his life. Hope that his Dragoons can kill off all of these Goliaths that Sharp ends up having, but I just don't see it happening. There's just too much Sharp at this point. He's too big. He's got 3 bases. He's going to have access to 3 gas. And Terran on 3 gas, they can survive for so long. Now here come those first 2 carriers. They don't even have the interceptor upgrade. He does have +1, which is nice, but Terran already has +1 himself. Vultures do confirm the 3rd base has gone up, but there's just no answer. Terran is up 35 supply. I guess it is a bit dicey with multiple carriers now coming out. We are at 4. If we can get up to 6, that's a decent army, but we need more support with the carriers. Carriers really are not good just by themselves. I know, because that's the style that I play. I love just going mass carrier. He needs to get more zealots. He needs to get more storm, but we don't see a citadel anywhere. And with no real supporting cast for the carriers, the Goliaths are just going to have free backline access to get right on top of them, and they should just be able to plow through. So here comes Sharp. He's got so much supply, 160 to 115. He's got more workers. YSC is going to go for a backstab. Honestly, this is probably the best option he can go for. He doesn't know how big Sharp actually is, though. Like, look how tiny this army is. It's 8 goons, 4 vultures, versus just, how many tanks is this? It's like 10 tanks, 15 Goliaths, and he has more just sitting here. Now, meanwhile, vultures into the 3rd base again. Gonna kill more probes. Just Sharp is all over the place. He's even gonna sandwich off these Dragoons now, so there's no escape. Lays a few mines in the back. There's also no oh, there is an observer here, so actually he will try and be able to escape. But the supplies just tell the whole story. 160 to 120. We're gonna have +2 pretty soon. It's about to kick in, and that's going to be the go switch for Sharp. This starport really didn't even get killed yet at all either. Well, now he's going to take it out, but he needs to save his bases. He can't. The starport is irrelevant at this point. Now there are, I think, 6 carriers out. Yeah, there are 6 carriers. They do have I think they may have +2. They're about to have +2, so actually the army is decently strong, but there's too many tanks to support the Goliaths. Really no way that the goons can actually get on top of these Goliaths. And this is probably just going to be YSC falling down here. There's so many Goliaths, so many tanks. We got a 4th base coming out for Sharp. He's got +3 coming in, +2 weapon coming in, or +2 armor also coming in. And this is exactly what you expect from a player like Sharp. He hits his harassment, he hits his macro, he takes bases, and once he hits his key upgrades, he just goes and kills you. So YSC is going to fall here unless he has a miraculous hold with these carriers, but he's not. Look how many interceptors are just instantly dying, and that's the power of +2. +2, you start 5-shotting interceptors instead of 6-shotting, and that's actually a massive breakpoint for the Terran. And really, has Sharp really lost any tanks here? It doesn't seem like it. The carriers are doing nothing. Just perfect play from Sharp. Behind this, we've got 8 fact. Really, the only thing that is missing from Sharp's army at this point is we don't have the science vessel, but honestly, he doesn't need it. YSC is about to mine out in the main and natural. He doesn't have anything left, and unlike last game where he was hitting his own key upgrades with the forges, he doesn't have any upgrades on his gateway units. And as I was saying earlier, really you're looking to get +2 versus 2-1 from the Terran. So +0 gateway army, almost useless at this point, and this is just me Sharp just walking over YSC. 110 to 173. No answer to this army. He doesn't even need to reinforce it. And that's it. YSC taps out, and Sharp is going to bring it back for Ample. So let's get into our next game. I think we'll rotate back into an Ample game. Let's go into Ample versus Noob. We already saw Ample fall to YSC. Let's see if he can redeem himself on Overwatch. Oh, maybe I'm doing this wrong. Maybe it is Ample and Sharp play on match point versus the Protoss players, and then they go to the second map. Either way, I don't think it's a big deal. We're going to see Ample this time on Overwatch. More than likely, our final game is going to be Sharp also on match point. Now, unlike Sharp, Ample definitely does a lot more timings. And Noob, just like YSC though, is a pretty standard player. We don't see any proc. Oh, we do have a probe moving out. Now, where does it want to go? I think that this is going to be a little bit too late for proxy gates. So more than likely, this is going to be a gas steal. He still does have the potential to go for proxy gate like right here, or right here. But I personally think that this is going to be an attempted gas steal. And it is going to be a gas steal because the pylon's going up in the main. Now, Ample is doing what I like to do. He's putting the depot to the right side of the command center. He can put his barracks here or here. And he does send out a quick SCV to make sure that no probe is coming. But the gas does get stolen. And now Ample is in a tough spot because really your only option now is to either gasless expand or trying to go for fast tube barracks, put on a bit of pressure. Because you know that Protoss is going to have a delayed cybernetic score. But I do not expect to see a fast 2 racks. That would be a bit unusual. Instead, Ample is just going to go for probably gasless. He may also pull off 3 to 4 SCVs. If I was in this scenario, I would go for gasless, but you can pull off 3 SCVs to kill this assimilator. That's another option. Now, back in the base of Noob, what does he want to go for? He sees that Ample is going for gasless, but he's going to go for gas anyways. He did have the option to go into a gate Nexus expand, but not opting for it this time. And honestly, I'm somewhat shocked that he didn't go for a Nexus. That would have been my go-to move if I did steal a Terran's gas like this. but I guess he doesn't want to risk facing an SCV Marine pull. Now this probe has been pretty annoying, not only skilling the gas, but also forcing off an SCV to prevent the Manor Pylon. Cybernetics has started, it is about halfway along. And what does Noob want to transition into? We saw that YSC wanted to go into the fast Reaver. Reavers are very strong on Overwatch. It's the opener that I face the most on this map. Now the follow-up is not always the same, but carriers are generally the follow-up. Sometimes it's Arbiter, sometimes it's just Gateway Man. And actually Ample does kill off the Assimilator. And I guess he just waited to have a few more Marines to do so. Really, you don't want to take off the SCVs too fast, because then you're hurting your econ so much that getting the gas almost isn't really even, worthwhile, since everything is so delayed. So a nice move from Ample, does get his gas down, does go for gasless. And now he's going to have a faster command center than Noob. We'll still have to wait and see what Noob's follow-up is going to be. No goon just yet, just straight range without any units. SCV does come in, sees that the Nexus has gone down, but didn't go into the main to get any further intel, which in this specific scenario, we see there's no units. It would have been nice to know that Noob has just powered extremely hard. But overall, Ample is in a fine position. He has started his first factory, and we already saw him go for a 2-fact opener. We could see that again, but I think that he's shown it already, that more than likely we're going to see more of the 2-1 style, especially since carriers are so punishing. You don't want to ever fall behind versus carriers. And if you do, you definitely want to have that strong 2-1 power spike, or that strong 3-2 power spike. Going for Vulture harassment is really going to delay those power spikes. So I would be a little bit somewhat surprised if we see Vultures. But so far we do have second factory going down. I don't see an armory anywhere. So maybe we won't have the fast +1 upgrade or +2 style. Now YSC, he did start his robotics pretty much on time. This looks like about a maybe 425 robotics timing. So this is pretty normal. He did not let the opener affect his overall game plan. He does have a few less Dragoons than really you would like, and he's not able to pressure this bunker as fast as he'd like. But overall, not bad from him. I am a bit surprised that we're seeing straight mines. I guess if it already worked on match point, might as well go for mines again, because match point, remember, there were 5 goons there, and now we only have 2. Now, unlike last game, Ample was in the dark, so he's respecting the potential for DT. He gets his turret up. We don't have an armory or an academy anywhere, so we are very delayed on our own tech. Also, no gas, and this makes me think that we're going for a timing here, because really, you need a lot of gas as Terran. If you don't, you can't go for the 2-1. So this could be a 5 or 6 fact timing from Ample. Now the tank is being quite aggressive here, gets off a few pot shots. Meanwhile, back at the base of Noob, I don't see a support bay anywhere. So he does have a shuttle, but I don't see any potential Reaver play coming in. Maybe this is just going to be a Zealot bomb. Okay, there we go. There is the support bay. So he just wanted to get that shuttle a little bit farther along before starting the support bay. Meanwhile, third Nexus is coming up. No command center just yet for Ample. He's not going to be able to match it. Armory is done. So actually, I missed the armory here. He does start +1, but his gas is pretty late again. He's really going to be gas starved for a lot of the game. So I'm a bit worried here that he may not be able to have enough tanks to also hit 2-1 while trying to take his third base. So that'll be something to look out for, especially since we see that Noob is going for a Reaver. He doesn't necessarily have to use the Reaver to harass the SCV line. He could just shuttle bomb on top of these tanks as they move into position right here. Now Ample tried to get something done with these vultures. Nothing at the third base. He's going to loop around to the natural. But and there is a gap. So Vulture's going to get into the nat. How many probes can they get? It looks like we have lost 2 at this point. He is going to get a couple more, but really not that many, maybe 4 or 5. So nice hold from Noob there. Now one thing that Ample doesn't know is that, one, the Reaver has come out. He's also going to miss the shuttle because he doesn't have any mines really en route or in a position to intercept the route of this shuttle. But he also doesn't realize that the gateways are extremely slow. Now this time he did actually run over mines, so he does see it coming. And what do we have in the main of Ample? He really doesn't have that much. He's got, okay, he does have a lot. He's got 5 tanks, no range though. He's getting out of his first couple Goliaths here. He does have turrets coming down, but I think this is a little bit too late. But his command center is done, so he's going to be trying to take his third base. But look at the supply, 91 to 67. I am a little worried that a bust will potentially take him down. But so far, not a high gateway count, so he doesn't necessarily have to worry about it now. This is going to be a Stargate. There it is, and this is going to be most likely carrier follow-up. We don't see a Citadel anywhere. Forge has started at the natural also. Now normally this Forge timing is pretty normal if you're going to be going for Arbiters, but just the way that Noob is opening, especially with no Citadel, and the way he's just using this Reaver to kind of just keep Ample back, you know this is carriers. And this is a very deadly comp on Overwatch. No +1 weapon spinning on his cybernetic score, so that may be a bit of a mistake for Noob there. He definitely wants to get upgrades. But Ample has secured his third base, and he didn't really have to make a huge concentrated effort to take it. So this is nicely, oh, double shuttle bomb. And how many goons is this? This is 12 goons. This is a lot of army also in the shuttles. We've got 1 Reaver, 3 Zealots. He desperately needs to get these mines down, and luckily he does. Now here he comes. This may be a mistake. It's only 2 Goliaths, and that's going to allow these shuttles to easily get on top of the first tank. Reaver goes down immediately, and this is a huge botch. Also, the Dragoons were not synced up. No! Huge mine hits on top of those goons. Wipes out 5 of them, and that's exactly what Ample needed. He's taken a 20 supply lead. He's got his +1 weapon done. Now, does he have a starport anywhere? Okay, he does have a starport. Science facility has just now started. Now, this is kind of what I was saying, where because he was lacking on gas, I don't think he was able to get his starport up in time and science facility up in time and also produce all of these heavy gas units in the tanks and Goliaths. But it does work out for him because he was able to kill so much of the army now. He could even start thinking about taking a 4th base at this point. But Noob does have his first 2 carriers started. +1 weapon on the cybernetics is halfway done. Citadel's coming in. He is starting to get up that gateway flood, and he does have +1 weapon on ground coming in too. As I said previously, you must have Forge upgrades when playing versus Terran. Weapon is the most important overall. It's nice to have shields and armor, but if you can only afford one of them, you gotta get weapon. And he doesn't necessarily have to have +2 for a fight. It would be nice, but +1 is mandatory for any fight that Noob goes for against Ample here. Now this is a lot of factories coming in. We've got 9 factories. Flash talks about how really 9 is the magic number if you're going to be fighting a Protoss on 3 base. It's pretty much the maximum that you can support. So Ample really going balls to the wall here. He wants to get as many units out as possible, and I don't blame him with his +2 slightly delayed. He definitely wants to max out ASAP because he's not going to have as strong of an army as he really could have if carriers were to come out pretty soon. So he needs to get out as many units as possible. But with a supply lead or very similar supplies, I think he should start thinking about going. He does have a little bit of a lower army supply, because we do have 69 SCVs to 63 probes, I'm a little bit surprised that Noob has cut so many probes here to just get a stronger army, because we know that 2-1 is extremely strong. He's definitely going to need a follow-up to his initial army. The initial army almost never wipes out a Terran. So I am a little bit surprised that we're a bit lacking on the probes. Would really like to see Noob take a 4th base. It looks like that is what he's doing. Now, Templar Archive is done. I didn't get to see if he got Storm. Whoa, what's that? Shields on the Forge. So he knows about the key carrier breakpoints when facing Goliaths here. When you get +1 shields, that's going to keep your interceptors out on the field as long as possible. If you don't have the shields, the way the carrier works, once the interceptor takes enough damage, it returns back to the carrier. So it will survive longer, but it's not going to deal as much damage. But Noob, I guess, is willing to sacrifice his interceptors to get out as much damage as possible. But he's going to have a good engagement, because look at this supply. 20 supply lead for Ample, +2 weapon is about 70% done. This could be an anti-timing, especially since Noob has the high ground. And I think this might be a botch, but instead, Noob is actually going to turn around. This is going to allow Ample to get onto the high ground. And I don't think this was the engagement that Noob was looking for. He loses a ton of Zealots. They take a lot of damage too. At least the Goliaths are kind of, and the Vultures are kind of bleeding off in the front. A bit of miscontrol here from Ample, but he just has so much. I'm not sure if that matters. DT in the back trying to get as many tanks as possible, but it didn't look like he really got anything done there. And Noob is in trouble. You always know that Protoss is in trouble once they start spamming out DTs. And in response, we have 4th Command Center going up for Ample. His +2 weapon is about to finish. And if he gets onto the high ground on this 3rd base, there's no way that Noob can hold this. Just impossible. The upgrades are too strong. +2 is not done yet for the carriers. He does have +1. +1 shields is not yet done either. So really, this is Ample's moment of opportunity to get as much damage done as possible. He's 100% going to kill this 3rd base. And Noobs, I guess, decided that he can't hold off this army. Okay, I thought he was going to go for a backstab, but instead he's going to try to actually defend it. No, this is a very weird position. Well, Noob is all in at this point now, because now his army is cut off with no way to get back. And this Nat is going to go down, may actually even cancel the Forge upgrade. So really, all Ample has to do, get a lot of mines placed down right here, put a couple tanks here, and he should be good to go. Now, where are those carriers? There they are. He does have 6, so that's a lot of potential damage. He should be able to wipe these tanks. Ample does need to be a bit careful to not separate too many of his units, because if these Goliaths go down and then these Goliaths go down, I'm not too sure he can really reinforce. Meanwhile, 3rd base is still alive for Ample, but he's losing a lot of units to this counterattack. Carriers doing work at the bottom. Still 6 out on the map, and there's really not a lot of Goliaths here. It's only 8, 6 more behind it. These carriers really can kill these Goliaths, especially with this high ground advantage. It's so cancerous to deal with carriers when they can just go in and out over top of the ledge. And actually, Noob is going to hold, but look at his minerals. He has no money. He's mined out in the main. The 3rd base has been shut down. He's got a 4th base, but he can't transfer any probes. Meanwhile, Ample, 4 base, he's got everything going for him. He is going to lose his army here, but the damage is done. Noob's got to get these probes back onto the mineral line. He should even start long distance mining this natural, and he needs to transfer over here. And Ample, he is up in supply, but actually those carriers did way more damage than I was expecting. And even though the supplies are up 30 for Ample, you got to remember he's up about 20 in workers, so the army supply is much closer than it actually looks. Now +3, has it started? Okay, it has just started. So a bit of a bit late on +3, but that's pretty much normal with all the chaos going on. But that is an upgrade that could come back to haunt Ample the longer the game goes. But luckily, this armory is tucked way back in the base of Ample. There's no real threat of getting picked off. Now we do have a 40 supply lead for him now. How many Goliaths does he have? He's got about 12, 15 Goliaths, 18 Goliaths. Really the magic number for me when facing carriers is I want at least 3 per carrier. So we're looking at 18 to be pretty good. I want 3.5. So something like 21, 20 or 21, that's a good number to have versus this carrier count. And Ample has done a good job to secure bases. Look at his SCV count, 75. Exactly what you want. He's got 5 bases going, not just 5 base mineral econ. He's got 5 base gas econ, and that's almost unwinnable for Protoss at this point. Really, we need more AoE damage, which we don't have. Even a turret picking off a carrier. Oh, that's never what you want to see. Archons mixed in with carriers. Archons almost useless Terran versus Protoss. So you can definitely tell that Noob is feeling the pressure now. Unable to get a 5th base. Nat isn't even running. We're long distance mining, and we're not even long distance mining with a lot of probes here. He's got a good gateway count. We're at 9. He's got enough Stargates to have an impactful carrier count. But because our econ has just been shot for so long, we're not able to get up to real critical mass. Real critical mass for the carriers is like 6 to 8. We only have 5 right now. And Terran is maxed, so it's go time. He's got so many Goliaths here, so many tanks. He doesn't have +3, but it doesn't matter. His army is just huge, and this is more than likely just going to be Ample ending the game here. Carriers are trying to do work at mid-left. All Ample really has to do is just spam turrets, reinforce with a few Goliaths, and he's set. Noob is going to lose his entire army here. There's just so much Terran. 190 to 130. SCVs being super annoying, getting on top of that ramp. The carriers are actually going to kill mid-left, but it doesn't matter because we have another command center going up in the center of the map. An army skirted down to bottom middle that I completely missed. This is going to be wiped out Nexus. The carriers may come back and save it, but the damage is already done. Nexus is down. Natural does get up for Noob, but we're just broke at this point. There's just nothing left for Noob, so Ample is going to take this game unless there's some heroic miracle that these carriers can do. And the really punishing part of this game for the carriers is he has no armor upgrades. Armor is very strong on carriers, and the fact that he doesn't have any armor versus +3 Goliaths, these interceptors are just going to get shredded. There's no chance of 5 carriers defending this. Look how many interceptors he has to build. GG. So Ample does get a bit of redemption in game 2, taking out Noob, and now we're going to go into our final game, which is going to be Sharp versus YSC. I imagine this is going to be back on match point. Oh, Sharp versus Noob, I mean, sorry. It is not on match point. It is actually going to be on Fighting Spirit. So nice switch up here. We've got 3 maps out of 4 games. That's very interesting. And I'll have to think about how this team battle must be set up. It's probably... They probably sent out Sharp on Overwatch. No, actually, I don't know exactly. Maybe it is just loser picks or something. But our final map is going to be Fighting Spirit. We've got Noob at top right, Ample at bottom left, or Sharp at bottom left. And Sharp we already saw just crush YSC. Almost no hope for him on Overwatch. And that was a very aggressive game from Sharp. So will he continue to be super aggressive, or will he go for a more standard play? And we just saw Noob. He had a pretty good opener. I really liked it. But kind of just fell apart in the mid game. Carriers were not able to deal enough damage, and that attack into the 3rd base just way out of sync. Not able to get those tanks that he really needed with the double drop. So maybe with a little bit more coordination, he can have a better result versus Sharp here. Now again, 12 gas very standard these days. I wonder if Sharp will go into a gasless expand that we already saw Ample go for. And Noob, of course, no 12 Nexus this time. He is just going to go into standard play. Now this SCV is going to the low ground, so it looks like gasless may actually be coming back into the meta. And it's not a shocker to me that we're seeing gasless here 2 times out of the 4 games, because as I was saying, 12 gas is so common these days that you almost feel like it would be smart to go for gasless expand. So that's exactly what Sharp is going for. He is sending out a relatively fast scout. This is to check the center to make sure that he isn't getting proxy gated. Because if he's getting proxy gated, all of a sudden he's in big time trouble with this barracks. He may even potentially have to put down a second Rax to defend it. But as I say that, he's actually going to scout bottom right. He may go for the 2 for the, in scout, where he's going to go to bottom right and then up the top left. We'll have to wait and see. But overall, he does need to find out whether this is going to be a forward gate or a proxy gate, because he does need to build more Marines if there's going to be some Zealots coming at him. And that is what he's going for. He is going for the in scout. So nicely done from Sharp. He's going to see that there's no gate, and he's going to be pretty safe here. Even skipping Marine, very risky. Now YSC, no Zealot this time. Straight into Dragoon, gets Dragoon range first. And the real question now is, how many goons does he want to build before building his Nexus? Generally, you see a lot of Protoss players go for the 21 Nexus. He could build 2 or 3 though, but really all you're looking for from Terran is 4 minutes, do they have a Nexus? If there's no Nexus, you got to get that eBay down. It could be potentially a fast DT rush, and if your eBay goes down later than 4 minutes, you're just flat out going to die. So the SCV is going to be coming in at a kind of an awkward timing. I do like that Sharp is going to go off to the right side and then come in more towards the standard 4-minute timing. Oh, he is actually just going to go straight through the natural now. Not going to go for that 4-minute scout, but he is going to see the Nexus. And when he sees the Nexus down this fast in combination with the Goon, he knows that he's safe. He doesn't even necessarily have to get in to see if there's any sort of tech. It's going to be impossible for there to be tech unless he cut Goon Rage, which I kind of find unlikely. But overall, nice scout from Sharp. In response, he's putting down his first factory. Now we've already seen Ample go into 2 fact. Both times he went for gasless expansion. And there it is, another factory coming up. So again, we're going to have an aggressive opener, most likely going to be Vultures. Doesn't have to be though. We could just go into a bunch of tanks, but that's kind of an unusual follow-up for the 2 fact. Now meanwhile, back at Noob's base, this is a very fast robotics. This is looking like it was about a 350 robotics or so, and that's telling me that this is going to be an extremely fast Reaver. And last game we saw Noob go for the Reaver play, didn't work out, but now that it's coming a lot faster, and since we've seen these players go into 2 fact Vulture both times they've gone into gasless, this could be a great counter to what Sharp is doing. He's going to have a very low tank count. He's not going to have an armory. There's not going to be any Goliaths out. And even though he's building an eBay right now, he doesn't know that this is going to be a Reaver follow-up. So it's not exactly 100% that he's going to set up a turret ring around his base, but he needs to. And that SCV was actually a crucial scout. It looks like he didn't see much at the natural, but that's all he needed to see. If you're Terran, you're wondering, why do you only have 2 Dragoons? You would really expect there to be at least 3 or 4. So to see only 2 Dragoons, he should know that this was some sort of fast tech. And I am a little bit surprised that we got the Observer first, but it looks like he wants to get the Observer first to come in, see exactly what's going on, making an evaluation of what he wants to do with the Reaver. He does have speed coming in also though, but because he skipped the shuttle, the Reaver is not going to be able to come out as fast as it could have been. And honestly, I think this is kind of a bit of a mistake here, because look at what Sharp has. The armory just finished. He is still building Vultures. There's only 1 tank. I really do think that there was a pretty big window of opportunity to get something done with the Reaver, but as played, This is still going to be fine. We're just going to go into a more macro-based game. And actually, as I say it, he didn't build that many vultures. It is only 4. And he went straight into Goliath. So he knows somehow that this is just going to be fast Reaver, or at least he's anticipating that it's going to be fast Reaver. Now, great turret positioning. Denies a scout into the natural and the main for now. Going to come in here and see that there is a second turret set up. Mines being placed in the main too. So it's going to be very hard to make this Reaver work. And surprisingly, Noob is going into 2-base carrier again. But I don't think that this Reaver is really going to do much because we already have 2 Goliaths out on the map. There's no range just yet. We've got turrets placed. And this was a gasless opener. So the econ from Sharp is way better than it normally is. And I think as long as we don't take critical damage to this Reaver, Sharp should just be able to roll Noob over. He's just got so much econ. He can go into a 3rd base if he wants. He could flood out 7 factories if he wants. So I'm a bit worried that, again, Noob is going to get caught with a very weak army before his carriers hit critical mass. And he's playing extremely greedy here. He has almost no defense. He's got 4 goons, a Reaver. He's going double Stargate, and he's taking a Nexus at the same time. Basically, he's saying to Sharp, like, I hope you don't attack me, because if you do, I'm probably going to be in deep trouble. And so far, Sharp is going to oblige him. He does start his starport. He isn't going to go for a big factory flood. I don't see a command center anywhere, but it looks like we're going to be building a command center on location at the 3rd base. So this could turn out to be quite an epic game. Now, what did Sharp just see? I can't figure out how to turn off the vision, but I am pretty sure he probably didn't see the carriers. He's already got range and siege coming in though, so he will be ready for them regardless of whether he scanned them or not. He has built a Wraith. Not too sure what the purpose of that Wraith is, since he already has Goliaths and turrets everywhere, but I guess he wants to make sure that something like a double or triple shuttle bomb doesn't catch him off guard. So I don't mind the Wraith. It is a pretty expensive unit though, but since he has gone for a gasless expand, he can afford to blow a few resources here and there. And the carrier, I think, takes about 1:30 to complete. So if we think about when Sharp is going to get his +2 weapon, it's going to be around 12:30. And with the carriers about halfway done, we're actually looking at a pretty decent timing for Noob. He should have 6 carriers out by 12:30. He does have +1 weapon upgrading, so he's going to be able to almost match the +2 timing of the Terran. So overall, Noob's position is pretty nice, but his supply is a little low. And because he's not very active on the map, Sharp could even potentially take a 4th base very easily. Turrets versus carriers, when they're in low numbers, are very strong. And with the extra econ he has from the gasless, he could afford to put very minimal defense at his 3rd base. Just a couple tanks and just mass turrets there, and he would be completely safe. But so far, it looks like Sharp may just go for a big factory flood. He doesn't have a lot of gas just yet though, so maybe not. He may just transition into the 4th base. And it looks like that is exactly what he's going to do. He must have scanned and seen what's going on. And this Vulture does get into the 3rd base, gets a couple kills, but nothing major. But Noob is in trouble. If Sharp takes this 4th base and we have 4 base Terran versus only 3 base Protoss, when they're not really going to have an overwhelming amount of carriers, sure, 6 is still a lot, but not an overwhelming amount like 10 or something. It's going to be very hard for him to keep up with Terran when they're on 4 gas. Also, the gateway count is a bit lacking. I'm looking to see if there's Temple Archive. There is a Temple Archive. He definitely needs to get Storm to support these carriers if he wants to actually win a fight. But I'm just not seeing it right now. I just don't think Noob is going to have what he needs in his army to actually deal with what Sharp has. And there is the big factory flood. We've got 4 more coming up all at once. I am a little bit surprised that the 4th command center didn't stop. And as I said, turrets are very strong versus carriers in the early game. This shuttle does get in, but smartly, Sharp has tanks in position. You can see that, look, one of these carriers is already halfway dead just to turrets, and this was only 5 turrets or 6 or 7 turrets. Meanwhile, a drop at the 3rd base is going to shut this base down, and this is going to shut it down for a long time because this shuttle is way out of position, carriers way out of position, and Noob needs all the econ he can get. He cannot fall behind the Terran econ, especially when his army comp is not exactly the greatest. So a nice drop from Sharp, going to end up going into the main. Not any defense here. You need to get cannons up here, bro. We already saw how much damage he could do on Overwatch. He's going to kill a few more probes here. And this is all of a sudden turning into a disaster for Noob. He just doesn't have the econ shut down in his main, shut down in his 3rd. Sharp has started his 4th base. +2 is going to finish pretty soon. Where is that 2nd armory? Looks like it is right there. And as I said, 12:30 to 1 timing. What does Noob have? He does have, I think he has 4 carriers, but he needs to get out a couple more. The 6 are going to complete pretty soon, but we're moving out. All Sharp has to do is get all of his tanks together. Looks like the AI may be a little bit bugged out here, but other than that, he's good to go. 150 supply to 150 supply. Terran army flat out beats that supply of Protoss as long as they're in a good position. I hate this specific spot when units start bugging out. It's just so painful to actually get units across the map. Now, one thing to note is the tank count is not exactly the highest. Looks like we've got 6 tanks, but the Gateway Army is not exactly the greatest either. But if all the tanks get taken out, and we can get Zealots and Goons and Storm on top of the Goliaths, all of a sudden, Protoss is going to have a pretty strong army. Goliath Vulture really not super deadly, but he's going to need a great engagement, and it doesn't really look like he's going to get it. Oh no! 2 carriers are getting picked off for free, and now for sure Noob is in big time trouble. 4 carriers is not what you want. You want at least 6. He can start splitting off tanks to mid-right to take out this base, but instead he's just got win on the brain because he goes straight to the natural, picks off multiple Templars, and with the Templars gone, how do you actually salvage this game? The carriers are trying to go for a base trade, but look how many units Terran has. There's no way Protoss can stop this with just pure gateway units, and the Goliaths are going to push the carriers back, and this is going to be Sharp taking it. There's just no way that Noob can hold on. It's 160 to 133. No more carriers coming out either. Those were great storms, but we needed more. If he could have gotten down 2 or 3 more blanketing that army, that would have been a lot of lost supply. But as it stands, it's just going to be Sharp taking this game. Noob taps out. GG. So this time, Sharp was able to take out the Protoss player. I think Sharp won both of his games, right? He beat YSC, he beat Noob, Ample beat Noob, and actually YSC was the sole winner, taking out Ample on match point. So overall, a great series from the Terran players. The Protoss players, a little bit off today, but the games were great. So that's going to be the end of this cast. Now, as I stated previously on the Discord, I have been informed that there are a lot of players that are interested in playing and having their matches casted. So if you are interested in seeing something like this again, mention to me what players you want to see. I know that Soma is very popular. He's shown interest in doing this. So if we could potentially get some Soma games like Soma versus Mini, Soma versus Snow, that could be very cool. That's something that I would personally like to see. But if there's any 2 specific players that you want to see face off and have them casted, definitely let me know in the comments and we'll try and make it happen.